Welcome to the vlog number one. I never thought I was actually going to do something like this, but fuck it, let's do it. I got my black tea here, English breakfast. Good stuff. I was in the mood for some tea after listening to the episode of the Social Radio podcast with Francesco from Keep Productive, and they had talked about tea on that episode, and I was like, listening to the podcast today because Alice was featured from Keep Productive, and I was like, you know what, I'm craving some black tea, specifically English breakfast. And to be honest, I actually haven't had English breakfast in quite a while, so I was like, you know what, let's just do it up. But anyway, definitely check out the podcast. I'll leave a link in the description below. So not a whole lot of noteworthy news for this video. I was updating my iPhone XS, getting apps off of it, cleaning it up, moving things around for a video on what's on my iPhone and what's on my Google Pixel. So be on the lookout for those videos on my main channel coming soon. So today I want to talk to you about calendar apps. Mainly they just suck. I use Google Calendar. There's not that many calendars that have like sync across different platforms and things like that. So Google Calendar is what I use. But I want to talk about some specific problems that I've noticed for a long time with most calendar apps. Let's just face it, all of them. I mean, they all have this problem. And yeah, there are some exceptions with some new apps coming out. They're more business focused and they're very minimal. And so I'm going to exclude those from this conversation. So what I'm really talking about here is mainstream calendar apps that are meant to be used for your personal life, not just your work life, and calendar apps that are meant to basically be your main calendar. And the first problem that I have with these calendar apps is everything feels like it has to be black and white. You know, if you put an event in, it's like it feels like you have to do that event. You could, of course, write TBA in parentheses next to it, which is what I do, but it just feels like it's in your calendar, you're gonna do it, and if it's not something you're definitely gonna do, it just feels like you're just screwing up your calendar workflow, adding in things that just don't need to be there. It just feels like you have to commit when it comes to creating an event in your calendar. It's like, what if you want to plan things? And that brings up another point. There's no place to plan your events in these calendar apps. Why isn't there a section in these apps for planning your events? Why isn't there an inbox for events? I mean, we have inboxes in our task and project managers. Why is there not an inbox in our calendar apps? To me, that's just like a no-brainer. And then when you are ready to commit to creating a task, the task detail box, it just feels like it's an afterthought. It just feels like the app developers were like, just in case you have to add notes to your event, just on the off chance, you know, the small possibility that you need to add notes to your event, we left a little tiny box there just to help you out. Whereas apps like Facebook and Meetup, you know, and I know we all love Facebook and they have their issues with privacy and all that, but you gotta hand it to Facebook. Events on Facebook, though the UI does look pretty bad nowadays, they at least pay attention to the event details in Facebook events. I know that Facebook prioritizes comments in events more so now, but the event details in Facebook have always been a very prominent aspect to Facebook events, more so than anything else up until the comments became the main focus. It really feels like that when these developers first made these calendar apps like many years ago, they were like, let's just create a simple calendar, let's just see the date titles, let's see the times, let's just make sure we have some colors in their different feeds, and that was really it. And we haven't really seen any real innovations since then. And these calendar apps like Google Calendar and Apple Calendar, they give us these different calendar feeds, which I think is a great feature because we can decide to turn them on and off to see different events, to filter out events. But most importantly, these calendar feeds are very important when it comes to connecting your calendar to other apps. But the problem with the current state of these feeds is that they're very static. You can turn them on and off, you can turn them all off, you can just have one on. You can't have feeds in multiple views, there's no filters, there's no tags. You can't group calendars together into a certain view or a subset of views. You don't have that flexibility in these modern day calendar apps. And it's funny that I'm saying modern day, but in calendar apps in 2019, you can't filter and tag your calendar feeds. It just doesn't make any sense when you really think about it. I mean, let's just say you wanted to have your work calendar events separated from your personal events. That's all great, but you pretty much have to keep all your work events either in one feed and turn it on and off, or you can have your work events separated into separate calendars. But the thing is when you want to switch between views in Google Calendar, for example, you have to manually turn them on and off to get back to those different views. There's no like easy, quick access to turn on these 3 work calendars and I want to go back to these 7 personal calendars. You have to manually turn them on and off every single time you want to change those view perspectives. And as far as I'm concerned, that is just the most cumbersome thing you could ever do for a calendar app. Like seriously, like let's say in your work calendar, it's under a different Google account, and you have a feed for clients, you have a feed for meetings, and you have a feed for just general tasks. And then let's say in your personal calendar, you have a whole array of feeds. Let's say you have a calendar feed for birthdays, you have a calendar feed for events with friends, you have a calendar feed for your family, things like that. And so let's say you're bringing in your work calendar into your personal calendar or vice versa. Wouldn't you like to be able to switch between personal and work really quickly with just the click of one button? Doesn't that make sense? Like, to me, that's just like a no-brainer. And I really wish calendar apps, specifically Google Calendar and other popular calendars, had that ability built in. To me, that would just save us a lot of time, a lot of frustration, and I feel like we'd be using our calendar apps a whole lot more. I will give Google credit though. They recently added the trash bin to Google Calendar, which I think should have been there like 10 years ago, but we have the trash bin. I mean, maybe it was added last year. So that's great news. Aside from that though, the new Google Calendar UI looks awful. I get what they were trying to do. It had the right intentions. It looks okay in some aspects, but overall, there's a lot of bugs. So yeah, yay for trash bins, I guess, in calendars. We at least have that in 2019. It should have been around 10 years ago, but that's just my personal opinion. Let me know in the comments below or on Twitter if there are any calendar apps that you think are worth checking out that might have some modern or futuristic features that I am not aware of. I would love to check it out. Anyway, hit me up on Twitter. Let me know if there's any apps you want me to check out, and just let me know what you're into, what apps are you using, what podcasts you're listening to. Just let me know. And until then, I'll see you in the next video on this channel. And be sure to check out my other channel, which I go over apps in depth with tutorials and tips and tricks. All right, guys, until then, I will see you in a future video. Peace out.